Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Stray Pixels podcast. Not currently sponsored by any home meal kit services. Please help. I haven't eaten since Chromatica Oreos came out. I am your host, Colin. I am a staff writer for Noisy Pixel, and I am joined, as usual, by my fellow staff writer, Nathan Mejia, and our editor-in-chief, Bailey. How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm pretty poggers, man. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, no, pretty good. Came off of some dinner right before this, so we're out of ticking time bombs while I got out of the bathroom.
Oh boy, always exciting. So last week we had a bit of a downer episode that involved a lot of speculation for the future. And this one is also pretty speculative, but it's about something that might at least be a little bit more fun to talk about. Topic number 1 is going to be all these cloud ports that keep coming to Switch, and most specifically the Kingdom Hearts Masterpiece Collection,
it's actually Integram for Masterpiece Cloud
Thank you.
Collection?
I couldn't remember the full name off the top of my head, and I did not want to look it up because it does not deserve that.
It's Kingdom Hearts Integram Masterpiece for Cloud Collection. That's the full name.
Yes.
If you guys are interested in seeing some more scripted out written thoughts, Bailey's got a video on the channel that is about that specific thing. We made an impressions piece for it, but I recently tried it out, and boy, it's unfortunate. So for those who don't know somehow, the entire Kingdom Hearts series, which includes Melody of Memory because it was already natively on Switch, is about to be on the Switch as of next week from when this podcast comes out, in 3 separate packages, or you can buy them all together for $90. The catch being that the entire series is a cloud version, not natively ported to the Switch, but running over your internet connection, sort of similarly to Google Stadia or a couple of other Nintendo Switch ports that we have seen in the last couple of years. And the big question on everyone's mind is, why? Why?
Colin's sad, man.
Square? Why?
Colin's upset.
What gay?
So Bailey, you kind of have first dibs on this. So do you want to give us a brief overview of what your experience was playing these demos that we've got?
Yes. So I played them like the day after they came out, and so I'll be honest with you, I probably have like one of the more like positive outlooks you'll see, because like I think it's probably because like I have pretty good internet where I live, so like I don't like, it's like probably pretty good. So I played so there's a lot of issues with this demo, like aside from it being cloud. So first off, it's timed. So there's 3 like downloadable titles, right? So there's 1.5 plus 2.5, which is 6 games, 2.8, which is 3 games, and then just KH3. So 1.5 plus 2.5, you could launch the game, like the collection, twice, and you could play for 15 minutes each launch. Whereas for 2.8, and I believe 3 as well, they're also twice, but for 10 minutes each. So for 1.5 and 2.5, I play KH1 and Birth by Sleep, because if you do KH2, it's just like the Roxas.
Yeah, you don't even make it all the way through the cutscenes.
Yeah.
So I'll be honest with you, like when I played 1 and BBS, like it was pretty good. Like I don't know, like there was definite like weird, like, so there were some oddities with the way you move Sora. Like you could tell that there was some like slight delay, like when you like hit, like when you press the button, and like when he would like swing or move. Like it felt pretty like playable for like the most part. The worst part were the cutscenes. So they look really bad. So they look like so like I said this in my like preview piece, but they look like really like badly compressed YouTube videos, and they look worse than the actual gameplay, which I think is the last thing people were like expecting to happen. Then I played 0.2 and KH3. KH3 was probably the worst, but like overall I think it was pretty okay. Still like the worst way to play the games, but I think like if you have a pretty good connection, like you'll probably be able to like play, like you'll probably be able to play through them fine, honestly.
So my experience from literally earlier this evening, so I waited a good while after these demos had come out. I was like, okay, I'm going to give this the best possible chance of succeeding, and I'm going to play them you know, after everybody else has already played them, written their think pieces, I'm going to make sure that like I have, you know, as ideal a connection as I possibly can. So I played it on the dock. My Switch was literally 3 feet away from my extremely capable gaming router, and I have a 200 megabit per second connection where I live. And I played Birth by Sleep. I decided like, oh, this is probably going to be like the simplest one to try and like see how this goes, because it was a PSP game, obviously. So we're talking about a game that was already the scope of a handheld game. And I remember almost immediately seeing that the opening cinematic was super choppy. I was like, oh, this is not going well already. Y'all can't even stream video that doesn't look like this.
Yeah, those cutscenes are bad.
They're awful. They're actually awful. I like, if you didn't know what they were supposed to look like, even, I think that it would still be distracting the way that they look, because there's just skipped frames all over the place. And I could not, like, I get that I have ADHD, so maybe that's got something to do with it, but I couldn't focus because I was just like, there's a missed frame. There's several missed frames. And then I skipped past a bunch of the cutscenes once I'd seen enough, because I wanted to get to the gameplay, and I got all the way up through the sparring match between the trio that's near the end of the prologue of Birth by Sleep. And I was just noticing, like, it felt unresponsive a lot of the time. Like, it didn't feel like there was a delay, but it felt like it was missing several of my button presses, which is not something that I'm used to with that game. I've played Birth by Sleep probably 4 or 5 times all the way to completion, and I'm like, this is not how this game is supposed to feel. And what was really frustrating was how much work had clearly been put into like making the game appear as a Switch game. Like, they even changed the button control scheme, which also, you know, violates a certain amount of my muscle memory, because I'm used to attacking with the button on the bottom of the controller, but the A button on the Switch is on the side. But it works, but it doesn't feel good. Like, if I was just talking about the gameplay, I think that even then, this is still by far one of the worst ways that I've found to play these games. And I played Days multiple times. So what I want to talk about first here is sort of like why this might have happened, because the overall opinion seems to be laziness. And I guess I kind of buy that, but it's just not a very compelling answer to this question, especially since we already have Melody of Memory, a game which looks better than the majority of the titles that are being ported, running natively on the Switch, and it's fine. That was kind of the thing that kept sticking in my mind, was we have a better looking Kingdom Hearts game that already runs perfectly fine on this platform. So Bailey, do you have any thoughts as to why this might be, besides just Square not wanting to put in the effort for some reason all of a sudden?
So like there's like 2 like main thought camps I've had. One of them is actually about what you said about it. Well, like I think just like easy profit, like, because I think so, like my thought process is like, so there's no excuse for like 1.5 and 2.5 to be cloud, because they're like all old PS2 PSP games, right? But for 2.8 and 3, I think they're somewhat justifiable, because 0.2 and KH3 are Unreal 4, and that's gonna, like, they could probably make them work on Switch, but it'll take a lot more effort than they probably could do. It just wouldn't be worth the effort. But I also think so. Like I could be wrong about this, but from what I've heard, in Japan, internet there is just like a lot more reliable, and so like stuff like cloud works far better in Japan than it does here in the West. So it's probably a lot more appealing for them, and also with Square, like it's probably like it's overall just like a less effort equals more profit sort of thing, because it's like a $90 thing, you know. And
my catch there, I have 2. First of all, the Switch, especially the base model, is 4 years old, 5 years old now, and the console literally can only handle up to a certain internet speed. So at a certain point, you get diminishing returns in terms of like how quick your home internet speed is. So what I have to wonder, and what I don't think any of us have gotten to try yet, is whether this really is only good for people that have either the OLED model or the new dock that has an Ethernet port on it. Because I have to imagine that would be somewhat more playable, but that still doesn't really solve the problem of it not being playable when it's off of the dock, which is, you know, a large part of the point of the Switch. The other thing is that in terms of easy profit, this is the second time in a year that Square has released a demo that is almost guaranteed to make more people decide not to buy a thing than we're sure they were going to buy it before, because you had the Balan Wonderworld demo that was pretty quickly eviscerated by everybody, and I don't know why they put it out when they would have sold more copies if they just had pretended that the game was not what it was.
When's the Balan episode of the podcast?
I don't have any of us played it.
Yo, I reviewed it, man.
You reviewed it?
Oh, that's right. You reviewed it.
Okay. Right. Nate, did you play it or did you play the demo?
God, no.
You played it? Come on,
I played the demo.
I don't even remember the name,
mind-numbingly boring. He still thinks it's Balan Wonderland because that's what it should have been.
I gotta tell. Oh my god! So when Balan was coming out, and then we were doing like news pieces on it, I swear to God, for like the first like 3 or 4 articles, I put Balan Wonderworld in the title, and like no one noticed.
You mean Wonderland?
For like weeks. Oh yeah,
You're getting it wrong now.
Yeah.
I put Balan Wonderland in the title for like 3 or 4 weeks, and like
no one noticed.
No one noticed until
they
like
didn't, because everybody thought that was the easiest joke in the world at the time. Was wait, what's the name of this game? So. And there's also like, I don't think this is being very heavily marketed, to be honest. I remember the PC releases being much more heavily marketed at the time. And you know, obviously those had a caveat as well, but this, it's like, it's almost stealth dropping. Like I had to type in Kingdom Hearts specifically into my eShop search in order to have them come up, because when I just typed in Kingdom, it was Melody of Memory at the top and then Mario and Rabbids for like 3 full pages.
It's a really weird approach, because the way these collections got like even announced in the first place was through that Smash Direct, which had a lot of eyes on it. You know,
and they weren't even really like properly announced. I remember when that happened, like I don't think they said that it was a cloud game at the time.
Yeah, they
did. They?
Yeah.
Or no, I think we all thought that it was
that
that they meant Kingdom Hearts 3 was cloud. I think was the because we were all watching that together.
Yeah,
that was what everybody thought, because why would they have to make all of them cloud versions?
No, I think he clarified they were all cloud, I believe.
Maybe at the time. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
But it was still like a confusing,
baffling.
Yeah.
So, Nate, have you ever attempted to play any of these cloud games on Switch? Because we've got a bunch of them now.
Yeah, we have a bunch of them. I haven't. Primarily, I've tried streaming through other devices, particularly like PlayStation, PC, and those work relatively well. You know, the issue I have with streaming for the Switch is always going to be I'm a household that has at least 20 devices connected to the internet at all times.
Sure. Yeah, that's an issue.
Yeah. I mean, I have multiple Switches, a PS5. Yeah, I have 3 Switches in the house right now. I have an OLED. I have my original Switch I never did anything with.
So what I think we need you to do then is to test it on the OLED with an Ethernet connection.
Nathan.
Yeah, I probably should, just to see what's going on with that. Because I'm sure that's going to be the best way to play them. What this tells me is that they decided to do a cloud version is not really laziness, but this was a last minute decision.
That's probably the most believable one, I would say.
That makes more sense than, because like the only other argument that I have heard is, they would take up a lot of space on the Switch. That's not a thing. Like we've seen several Switch retail releases that literally need more than the Switch has in built-in storage in order to install all the sports games that came out in 2018. All of them required you to have a memory card, because the Switch literally it would take more than the 32 gigs that's built into the system. And I also can't imagine that that's really true, especially for 1.5, 2.5. the way that I personally think that they should have done it is rather than doing the 2.8, I think that they should have sold 1 point or the 1.5 and 2.5 collection with Dream Drop as one bundle for 50, and then 0.2 KH3 and Remind together for 40 as the cloud version. I think that would have been completely manageable, and I don't understand why they didn't do that.
That would be because they'd have to extricate 3DS from the rest of 2.8, which they're not going to want to do for a port. So you'd have to get 3DS back into the cloud version.
Well, I mean, I'm assuming that this would be a port of the PlayStation 4 version.
Yeah, that's what it would be, but that's still inside the disc, inside the copy. They'd have to go in, recode.
Heyo. Nathan,
they'd have to
today, man.
They'd have to recode that menu, the very beginning, which might have been taking a little bit more time than what they had. Because this, to me, like, this stinks of, oh crap, it's the 25th anniversary of Kingdom Hearts, 20th? 20th. Oh crap, we gotta do something.
That's what kind of gets me about this, though, is that I don't get why. So what would have made more sense to me if that was the motivation for rushing these out? Because, reminder, these were only announced 3 months ago. Is just wait. Like, we know that we're getting news on the future of Kingdom Hearts later this year. Because they said that over and over again. Don't expect it in 2021. You're going to get news in 2022, and we're going to celebrate the anniversary of the first game. I don't get why they couldn't have just waited until all of that was over and then released these in let's say September, August, October, when they were really trying to drum up hype, because this isn't going to drum up hype for anybody. I don't really understand who this is for. No. Basically, anybody that would potentially want to play these would want to play these because their friends have been talking about these games for 20 years, and those friends probably told them not to buy this.
Yeah, well, and what really hurts is the reason to buy this on Switch would have been the portability of it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's been this series has been requested so heavily for Switch since it came out. People have been like, why aren't these games coming? Why are they why are we waiting this long to port this clearly easily portable series, considering it's out for every single platform now over to Switch, especially when most of them would run just fine on it. And Monkey's Paw.
Monkey's Paw, man. Yo, it was
Paw Girls.
I'll be honest with you, when they announced it for Switch, I was kind of laughing for a bit.
I remember that.
It's like the most poetic way for that to happen.
And I almost want to say, oh, Nintendo, but I don't know that Nintendo had anything to do with this.
No, I don't think they really had anything to do with
this. No. From a lot of this, it's the wanting not to spend a lot of money. They definitely didn't want a physical version of these games because those cartridges are notoriously expensive. And like I said, everything stinks of this is a last minute decision from higher up saying, hey, we want to do this on Switch for the 20th anniversary. It'd be hype. What's the easiest and cheapest way to do it?
You keep saying 25th.
Do I keep saying 25th?
Yes.
I meant to say 20th that time.
It started in 2002. It wasn't a PS1 game.
Nate's a fake KH1.
Oh yeah, I'm a fake KH1 fan. The whole reason I have a PS2
we're all fake KH1 fans. Let's admit that we don't actually like this game that much in hindsight.
Well, I love KH1, man.
Billy, you were going to say something.
I like KH1 better in hindsight, actually.
Yo, Nate, kind of vulgar.
Yeah, fair enough. Me and my hot take. Billy, you were going to say something.
Was that? Oh, yeah, so how funny would it be if they drop these on the anniversary day during the event?
I keep seeing people holding out hope, hey, don't buy these and then maybe we'll get actual ports. No, clearly we're not. Clearly that's not going to happen, or they would have just waited. I don't know why. And I kind of have to rebut at this point, the Switch carts are so expensive, because I've seen so many random games that should have just been digital only get physical releases, because I work in a physical game store. Puyo Puyo Tetris and Puyo Puyo Tetris 2 both got full retail releases for some reason, even though they are decidedly niche products that could have just been download. And I don't I don't know. I feel like we could have just seen like what happened with Spyro Reignited or Crash Insane, where they I think it was just Spyro Reignited, but where they just put, you know, one or two of the games on a cart and have you download the rest. I think at this point we're conditioned to accept something like that, and it would have made so much more sense than this. I don't know what happened. I wonder if like maybe Melody of Memory just sold like complete trash on the Switch because it was the first Kingdom Hearts game that was released for the Switch for some reason. Same way that Persona 5 Strikers probably did.
Go ahead, Bailey. I'm gonna kind of jump.
My 20 head theory, right, is that Nomura wanted the collection to have Cloud in the title.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So they made it Cloud to like, because the only reason that Birth by Sleep has "by" in the title is because he wanted the word "by" in the title of that game. So maybe for the Cloud collection, you know, he wanted Cloud in the title for the Switch, and they had to cave, man. That's all. It's all
taking psychic damage right now.
Yeah. My other theory, a little bit more believable, is I think this is also a test run. I think if this went well, we would have seen Final Fantasy VII Remake on the Switch as well whenever the Xbox version came out.
It's a thought, but at the same time, I cannot possibly imagine that would have gone any better.
No, this wouldn't have gotten any better.
No.
That's why they use Kingdom Hearts as the test, because notoriously Kingdom Hearts fans will buy whatever Kingdom Hearts game.
We buy everything, man.
I bought everything. I bought 2.5, 1.5 at least 3 times.
Yeah, me too.
Let's go.
If it comes out on PS5, it'll be a 4th time.
I'm gonna be so hyped for the PS5 ports, man. I get to plot them all again.
And like, to be clear, we know why cloud games for the Switch exist in the first place. They're huge in Japan, and that is mostly because the Switch is such a dominant force in Japan. There are more Switches out there than there are PS4s, because a lot of people live in smaller homes that don't have the space for a second gaming console. And that's part of why the Switch was designed to be so compact, even when it's in the dock. So I get that, but it's just, to ship this worldwide feels odd. I don't know why this happened, but we got a full Dragon Quest XI port, for example. That seems kind of odd to me.
So like, the thing with that Dragon Quest XI port is that they had to like remake textures for the entire game.
Yeah.
But like, that isn't really equivalent to like, you know, like these older games, but like, because they would have to do something like that for like KH3, I would assume, or like Zero, if they really wanted to make them native. But like, I don't think anybody can justify the older games being cloud, because there's just no feasible.
No, everything up through Dream Drop Distance could have just so easily. And what really kills me is the idea of watching the movies this way, because that sounds excruciating.
So funny story. Yeah,
I'm listening.
Funny story. So on Twitter, so someone actually used their demo time to watch back cover, right? And I kid you not, right? When you watch back cover with the time limit, the last line that you like reach is Ira saying, "There's a traitor among us," and then it just stops.
Oh my god!
It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
That was clearly on purpose. Oh my god!
No matter where I go, Among Us will never escape.
Oh my god!
So stupid.
Okay. On that note, we are going to take a quick ad break, and we will see you guys after the break for our next extremely relevant topic to this, which is the other side of the current portable gaming landscape, and that is the Steam Deck coming out later this month. So we will see you guys in a minute. Welcome back, everybody. In our second half of this episode, we are going to discuss the other side of the Switch cloud gaming coin, and that is the Steam Deck and its ability to do basically all of this natively. So, for those of you that are somehow, again, unaware, last year, Valve announced that they are basically creating their own handheld gaming PC called the Steam Deck. It looks very much like a Switch, but I think it looks more like the Wii U gamepad and is about the same size, just a little bit shrunken. But the idea is to basically take all the games that you already have on your Steam platform and have a device that you can play them with away from your computer. and to run as many of those games as it possibly can. So one of us in this room has a Steam Deck pre-order.
Hi.
Nate, would you like to discuss what initially drew you to it?
So yes. So the issue is primarily I'm a console gamer. I have a PC now that can run all these like good games. I'm not like the best RTX, but RTX, all this stuff. I finally upgraded a PC to play PC games, and I found that I don't like playing on the PC.
It's hard.
Spicy take there.
Well, you have to remember, I spend 80% to 90% of my time on a computer anyways, because I work at a stay-at-home job, on the computer. So it's hard to get me into this not work mode, because even when I'm doing this, I'm here doing the podcast, I'm editing video, I'm writing a review. So when I'm sitting down and playing, it's hard to get me into that play mode. Okay, let's sit down and play this game. And some of my stigmata, I'm not gonna lie, comes from when I was younger and I had a potato.
Incorrect word.
What do you mean?
You said stigmata. Stigmata are the holes that were in Jesus's hands.
Trails characters?
Hey man, you could tell I was Catholic. But you know what I meant.
Yeah, no, I get it. It was just an amusing poor word choice.
We should say stigmata from now on the podcast.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But it comes such a fucking weeb.
But yeah, it comes from when I was younger, when I had a potato as a PC, where I notoriously tried to get Sims 2 working on it, and I couldn't get it working, and Walmart would not take my game back for my money. So that kind of put me off the whole thing in general. So with the Steam Deck, finally, I'm hoping to not replace my Switch, but go alongside my Switch of it's bedtime, time to relax. What game am I going to pop up? Am I going to pop up Trails of Cold Steel now, or whatever? Or am I going to pop up Yeast or Mass Effect or whatever?
He did it.
I did it.
And he managed to work in the Falcom stuff.
Yes,
man, that's our brand, man.
Yeah,
very truly. So the big thing about the Steam Deck, very initially, was so it comes in 3 flavors. It comes in the 64 gigabyte model, the 256 gig model, which has faster storage, and the 512 gig model, which has even faster storage. But the base model, the 64 gig one, is $400, which is $50 more than a Switch OLED.
Yeah, that's not. That's not.
No.
So I think that with the Steam Deck on the market now, granted, it's not going to be anywhere near as widespread, mainstream, prevalent as the Switch is. You're not going to see this in retailers. This is going to be a product that you have to order from Valve for the entirety of its lifespan. But you do have to look at what you're getting for price to performance in this case, just on the face of it, because the Steam Deck, we have seen through all of the previews, there's a whole Twitter that's dedicated to showing off what games are able to be run on the Steam Deck, and this is things like up to and including God of War 2018 is running on the thing, where it's kind of amazing what you can squeeze out of a device that costs only that much more than a Switch, but is able to perform so much better. Because we just saw, Switch just released Pokemon Legends Arceus, and it's a huge marquee title, and it looks crunchy.
Oh,
and part of that is Game Freak, but part of that is it's limited by the platform that it's on. So we're kind of entering a frontier of, well, what if that limitation was not quite so severe? What it kind of reminds me of is looking at what the Vita could do compared to like the 3DS, where it was just so much bigger in scope. And that's a thing that it's being compared to a lot, is the Vita, especially with all of the, the visual novels and stuff that you'll be able to play on it. It's kind of a similar functionality.
Yeah.
So Bailey, do you have any big head thoughts on what the Steam Deck might be bringing to us in the near future?
I mean, like, just like how it'll do, or just like
what are your thoughts on it?
So the thing is, so I'm not too familiar with like Valve as a company, but so I got the Steam controller from them like years ago. And the Steam Deck, I think it was called. Oh no, the Steam Link. And none of those things have done well for them. So there is some like hesitation for me. So like I didn't buy this because I didn't really think it would do well.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. At the end of the lifespan, they were selling the Steam Deck for literally $10.
It's really bad, yeah. And like I think this has the potential to be the quote unquote Switch killer, at least for like not like sales wise, but just like for people who want more out of the Switch, but just can't get that out of it. I think this is the ideal thing, but we'll have to see how it actually works when it's out and like see how it does, because there's, I don't know, like with Valve, like I could definitely see this like failing and being forgotten like about like after like a few months or so, like these first few months of it being out are going to be very, very crucial to see how it does.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because we have seen, they're a little bit like Google, where they'll release a thing, it doesn't do well because people aren't quite sure what it's supposed to be, and there it goes. And what this reminded me of almost immediately when it was announced was the Steam machines that they really tried to make happen for a minute there during the early 2010s, and boy, those did not happen.
Nope.
Because it turns out that people don't want a console that's just a PC, because you can just do that with the PC that you already have. We did get big picture mode, which I think is helpful for people who do run their PCs on like their living room TVs, but other than that, it was a bit of a miserable failure. So I do get the hesitation in terms of, hey, are they actually going to support this thing? But it, like, we've seen it is the thing. We didn't really see Steam machines ahead of time. We've seen plenty of people covering this. We've seen it be in the hands of developers and YouTubers, and like the fact that it's an actual thing that you can hold in your hands gives me more hope than 80% of anything that I hear Google announce that they're working on. Like they didn't announce this until it was like basically done.
Which is really helping it, because it's going from proof of concept to, oh, here's the thing. And them sending out those review copies, I think, was actually very, very smart, because now people are still kind of talking about, not talking about it as much as it was then, but even now people are doing what they want. They're on Twitter debating whether or not this is going to be the Switch killer. I don't think it is. I think it's going to coincide with the Switch. It'll be just an extra choice, which is, as a friend of mine always used to say, is more choices is always better.
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like two very different markets, because Switch will always have the Nintendo first party stuff, but like that's always going to be for a more casual market. This is going to be for those who I think for those who kind of miss the Vita, honestly.
Very much that. And it helps that supposedly it will have expandable storage. They say that they're not going to officially support it, but you can crack the thing open and install a new SSD in it. And I will give you that the increases in storage and the associated increases in price is a little scary, but it's not so unreasonable when you consider that they're also using much pricier solid state drives. So I believe that the top end model uses one that's pretty similar to what we see in the PS5 and the Xbox Series X.
I believe it's the same, almost the same one. I think maybe a generation 3 instead of a generation 4. But it's very similar, because I got the highest end model.
Classic name.
$630.
$630.
It's honestly not as big of an increase.
No, it's not that bad when you consider
the first, model, like the weakest one.
Because a lot of these handheld PCs are even more expensive than that, especially for their first. I suspect that it's probably something to do with like Valve being a big company that's like already got the ability to be like, hey, we want all of these factories to produce tens of thousands of units, as opposed to this is an extremely niche product that you have to like have been on mailing lists to hear about. So thing that really excites me about this is the fact that it is actually not even just limited to what's on Steam. So it is very different from the very closed garden environment that we have for the Switch, where everything has to go through Nintendo, or for example, for iOS systems where everything has to go through Apple. You can install basically anything from what we're seeing. They're going to have, it's running Linux, but they're going to have like an absurdly good compatibility layer, which is exciting because that means that you can try to run basically anything. Any of your games that you have in your Steam library might work on it. You don't necessarily know until you try, but we're seeing them promoting pretty much the whole spectrum of developers. Shuhei Yoshida, I think, tweeted the picture of God of War running on it, and was like, "This is so cool." Oh, I just went out of focus for a second.
You did. I blame ADHD.
But like I've also seen them like retweet like the developers of like Ultimate Chicken Horse, for example. So we're seeing like a full spectrum of, hey, everything could work on this, and that's just really cool to me. We've not seen something like that again in this price range really ever.
Yeah.
No, that's true. Only like I even heard people saying that you might even be able to install EGS on it, and get the EGS games on it, which could be very helpful.
That'd be crazy, actually.
And that kind of ties back to what we were talking about at the beginning, because of course, if you can install Epic Game Store on the Steam Deck, you can install the entire Kingdom Hearts series running natively on your Steam Deck.
Let's go, man.
Let's go.
Like, it's that by itself is just very funny to me. The fact that like the Switch OLED apparently can't run these games, but if you buy a Steam Deck that's $50 more, you can just run them from the Epic Game Store, and it'll work.
That's really funny.
You were gonna say, Bailey?
Those PC ports have gotten good because like they've been patched pretty extensively by Square now. So like if that could work, that could be the way to play them.
Yeah, you've had a ton of experience with those PC ports. You were losing your mind over them for a while.
I got that best coach from Square, from my other say. They were bad at launch, man. They were so bad.
But like every other week you were like, yo, check out this new KH3 PC mod. Check it out. And like,
yeah, man.
So that's kind of exciting, is like, not only will you be able to theoretically play these games on Steam Deck, but you could play like, modded, potentially improved versions of these games on Steam Deck.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about mods for like the Steam Deck. Like that's a whole other...
That's kind of crazy when you think about what you can do that you've never been able to do away from a PC before. The whole of modded Skyrim is at your fingertips. GTA 5 is there for you, like on the go, and that's something that we'll probably never be able to see on Switch.
Yeah, on Switch, no, never.
Despite man.
Don't speak that into existence. We already had one god awful port.
That's how it happened. That's how they get GTA 5 on there. But throughout the mod section, it's kind of interesting because that would famously Bethesda and Skyrim actually, and I think Fallout as well, actually tried putting mods on consoles with limited success. Xbox did it better because there were no restrictions, while PlayStation,
the exact restriction for PlayStation consoles was you could not add anything to the game. You could only mod in like things that were already coded in, which obviously severely neuters what you can do.
No custom code or no custom images.
I see.
Yep. Because they were probably pretty justifiably concerned about having another kernel exploit and making another console that is quite as easily jailbroken as the PSP was.
That's one of them. The other one is all the porn mods for Skyrim.
Yeah. Hey, you can play whatever porn game you want on the Steam Deck.
Those characters in Skyrim?
You can install it, you can try it.
They're not even that hot in Skyrim, though.
No, they weren't.
I mean, you can
but
make them
you
hot,
know
though.
what? People will get off to anything.
Sure, that's true.
A wise man once told me,
Oh god,
put your mind on it, you jack off to anything.
Nate's right.
And that is how we're going to end this episode.
I can't wait for our sponsor, man.
And that's how we finish, man. That's how we finish.
Oh god.
Nathan, going
Don't
in,
talk about
man.
finishing right now. So on our closing note, as always, I like to ask you guys a question. And my question this week is, what game are you most excited to play portably for the first time? And I'm going to start with Bailey.
Yeah, please.
So I know I was going through my library just now, saying, that has the console port, that has the console port. So I was gonna say Trails, but that's like the boring answer. So honestly, probably Devil May Cry 5.
That's on deck. That is on the Twitter. They say that they said they're gonna support it. It looks real nice.
It looks really good on, because that's like one of like the bigger games that they've been showing on the deck, and like you can't play that on Switch. It's gonna probably, like, if it does come to Switch, it's gonna probably not be that great to play on Switch.
No, probably not.
I don't know. Like, I just think like, because I've never played Devil May Cry like portably and like anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like probably one of the more hallmark ways to like show off the prowess of the Steam Deck is like, oh, I'm playing Devil May Cry 5 on this.
I played God of War 2018.
Oh, that's gonna be
playing
crazy.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh, Horizon. That's gonna be a PC port too, right? Is it?
Horizon has a PC port. Horizon got one first.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Horizon got one first. From what I hear, it's really good.
Uncharted 4 just recently got it. With the Thieves Collection that also just came out on PS5.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And of course, God of War.
Hey, why not? Nate, how about you?
Okay, so I was actually forbidden from giving a couple of answers.
Come on, Nate.
Which is why
you already brought up one of them anyway.
You gotta say it, man. Say it.
So surprisingly, I'm sitting here going through my Steam library. You might be able to see it through my glasses. Because I was like, oh God, if I can't choose this game, what game would I be excited about to play portably? And I think that was the key I locked into was portably. And honestly, I'm kind of like into maybe sitting down with one of the Yakuza games and just.
Oh, that's a fantastic option. That's a great answer. That's a great answer.
That is a great answer.
Yakuza's a really good answer. Yeah.
Because
you got a long road ahead to get caught up on Yakuza, and that's pretty cool. Yeah, basically the whole series is on PC. That's a pretty compelling answer right there.
That's like a really good answer. Yeah. Yo, that should be a feature article,
Nate. Yo, man, I gotta get that content out, right?
Yeah, man, we're content men.
So my answer, if the viewers know anything about my coverage for the site, should be pretty plainly obvious. I'm excited to see what we can do with Final Fantasy 14 on the Steam Deck because it already has controller support. Presumably, since they're showing off stuff like Killing Floor 2, it should have a decent enough Wi-Fi chip in it to play multiplayer games. I'm excited to see what we could theoretically do with it. It's a small screen, but if you can, like, the controller support is already basically all muscle memory, and if you can make it work on such a small screen, especially since you have the touch pads on the sides, we might have portable Final Fantasy 14 for the first time, and that's really cool to me. That's hitting at a really good time.
Well, I actually misspoke what game I want to play.
What did you mean to say?
Can't believe I didn't say this. Honey Pop, man. I can't believe
in
public. Honey Pop.
In public.
Honey Pop in public, dude. That sounds pretty fucking lit.
It's a whole new world, man.
In public. Okay. Of course, we tried, but we couldn't not end on a horny note. So that's going to be the end of today's episode. Just to remind you guys, we are posting every single Tuesday from now through the heat death of the universe, probably. I don't know. Maybe we'll run out of ideas at some point. But we are the Stray Pixels. I'm your host, Colin.
I'm Nate.
I'm Billy.
And we will see you guys next time.